Jai Hind everyone, I hope you all are doing fine. Today we will be starting our sociology optional paper number 2, and we will be starting with the perspectives on Indian society, the first unit of this particular book. All the credits go to Mr. Nitin Sangwan and Mrs. Seema Shruti Jhakar. Alright. Ma'am Seema Shruti Jhakar and Sir Nitin Sangwan has made this particular book, and it is a beautiful book in which we will be able to examine the various details of sociological theories and the various sociologists. It is divided into 3 sections. The first section, introducing Indian society. We are delving in this particular lecture. Alright, we will understand everything in details, and it will be like a discussion, so you do not have to worry. It is nothing which is theoretical. It is nothing which will go from above your mind. It will not fly like a cloud. It will be something which will be absorbed deeply by your mind. It will be something like a nutrition. Alright, so you are eating a sociology vitamin pill with me. Okay, sociology vitamin. You lack this vitamin, so you watch this entire playlist we will be creating. Today you are watching chapter number 11, then we have 12, 13, 14, and that is how you will come till 25. Sorry, that is how you will come till 25. The 15 lectures of this particular paper 2, when you complete them, you will be confident that now I have a lot of vitamin sociology, and now I will be able to, or now I am equally immunized to have intellectual discourse in the field of sociology, and I can absolutely apply my knowledge of sociology in the examination, in the world, in my life, everywhere, wherever you go, whatever you think, whatever you feel. Alright, so let us start. So, the perspectives on Indian sociology. Of course, India is not only about snake charmers, this man is saying. Why is this man saying? This man is saying to this women. Alright, so who might be this man? This man might be a English person who is part of Indologist approach, and then this women and this man might be someone who is questioning the Indian cultures and saying that Indians are white man's burden. Something like that is happening. Probably this is a caricature. Alright, after reading this chapter, I also used to make caricatures. After reading this chapter, you will be able to understand the real picture of Indian society. What is the picture of Indian society? Explain the various perspectives related to Indian society. Know about Indologist, Marxist, structural functionalist traditions of India. Alright, Indologist, Marxist, or structural functionalist traditions of India. Explain other key sociological concepts like Sanskritization. Sanskritization given by M.N. Srinivas. Alright, here you have Indologist. Indologist, who was Indologist? G.S. Ghurye was Indologist. Alright, one more we know, historian Al-Basham. Alright, Al-Basham was Indologist. Who else was Indologist? There was Ramchandra Gua. Alright, then Marxist, we have A.R. Desai. We have structural functionalist thinkers also, so there are many thinkers we are going to discuss. Alright, countries and societies around the world are often stereotyped in certain images due to their, alright, so countries and societies around the world are often stereotyped matlab they are prejudiced. Alright, so when there is a prejudice, there is a bias against certain countries, okay, in certain images due to their particular history. For example, East Asian societies or East Asian countries like Japan, like China, like South Korea. Why are they biased? Because of their languages. Alright, but now there is Samsung, now there is a lot of economy, so they are less biased. So due to the culture, due to the location, and so on. So there is a bias in the minds of people. Okay. Even today, India is considered a land of snake charmers by some outsiders. Okay. Similarly, the early British Indologists stereotyped Indian society as a Hindu society. British Indologists said what? That Indian society is a Hindu society based upon their textual understanding. So basically, the British Indologists had a stereotype in mind regarding the Hindu society, and that is why the various cultures were, rather than being accepted, were remolded in some or the other manner. There were positive remolding also, negative also. Positive example I give you, 1829, abolition of sati. Positive example. Alright, they used value knowledge contained in ancient scriptures and took that on face value. Alright, so yes, they had the value knowledge but took that on face value. This classical understanding differed from the empirical reality and was later challenged not only by various sociologists and anthropologists but also by various nationalists. Alright, so various nationalists, as we will see, the Indologists will challenge this understanding, and various historians also will challenge their understanding by basing their work on Indian history and cultural richness. One example is Al Basham. Alright, the wonder that was India. So, while the Britishers suffered from colonial bias, some Indian thinkers suffered from nationalistic bias as well. Alright, so the Britishers are suffering from colonial bias, and some Indian thinkers are suffering from nationalistic bias as well. So, when sociology was established as a formal discipline, some more insights were offered into the study of Indian society, and more objectivity was infused in the discipline. Alright, so as we see the rise of sociology, we see the rise of objectivity. Alright, but then it depends, like sometimes it can be objective, sometimes the things were more or less subjective only. Alright, so this is the brief introduction on the perspectives. As we move forward, it says Indian society is a multicultural society, yes, and is marked by various complexities, marked by multiple complexities. So even before the rise of sociology as a formal discipline, scholars tried to understand the Indian society. Alright, understanding Indian society. It was, however, only after the establishment of the British political and administrative rule that the study of Indian society became systematic. So, what we can understand, that the British rule made the study of Indian society systematic. Alright. This was there. Earlier, the understanding of society was contained in religious scriptures, travelogues, and political works. Okay. There is a marked discontinuity in such writings, thus creating a challenge in understanding the society. Alright, but Britishers kind of standardized it because they wanted to study Indian society. Herbert Risley wanted to conduct the census of castes. Alright. So that was there. So the text like Arthashastra gave an elaborate account on the ancient Indian society, but from the perspective of statecraft. Alright. So from the perspective of statecraft, we had the Arthashastra. Alright, who wrote Arthashastra? We know Chanakya wrote Arthashastra, Kautilya wrote Arthashastra. Alright, the same person, two different names. So elaborate accounts by travelers was there, like Megasthenes was there, Ibn Battuta was there, Marco Polo was there. Their various books gave vivid details of the social systems. Alright. What was the name of the book of Megasthenes? What was the name of the book of Megasthenes? And what was the name of the book of Ibn Battuta and Marco Polo? Can you mention it for me? Yes. So the name of the book was basically Ibn Battuta, it was Rila. Alright. For Marco Polo, it was what book? Do you remember? It was the Travels of Marco Polo, or this also he called the something else also he called this. And then there was Megasthenes. His book was Pax Indica. Indica you can say, not Pax Indica. Pax Indica is Shashi Tharoor. So Indica. Alright, Indica by Megasthenes. Alright, so in the 18th and the 19th century, seeds of sociological thought were sown by voluntary organizations like Asiatic Society of Bengal, led by William Jones, who translated Manusmriti into English. So basically, then after the time progressed in 18th and 19th century, Asiatic Society of Bengal was led by William Jones, who translated the Manusmriti into English. Okay, William Jones translated Manusmriti into English. Society for the Acquisition of General Knowledge. Society for the Acquisition of General Knowledge was formed in 1838. And then Acquisition of General Knowledge, this society was formed, and Herbert Risley pioneered the ethnographic studies in India with his works as a civil servant in Bengal. Alright, so ethnographic study, caste study he was doing with his book Caste and Tribes of Bengal, 1891. So whose book is Caste and Tribes of Bengal, 1891? Caste and Tribes, alright, of Bengal, 1891. Whose book? It was the book of Herbert Risley. Alright. So then in Madras, Bethune Society was formed in 1859, which organized regular discussions on various aspects of social sciences. Alright, so this in Madras, Bethune Society was formed. Where was it formed? Where was Bethune Society formed? Tell me, where was, right now only we are studying, where was Bethune Society formed? It was formed in Madras. Alright, Madras. Bethune Society was formed in 1859 in Madras. Regular discussions in social sciences. The paper titled, alright, Sociology for India was presented in the Odd Scientific Society. So the paper titled Sociology for India was presented in the Odd Scientific Society. Social thinkers like Gandhi, Vivekanand, Tagore had their own understanding of society. So what do we understand in this? We understand briefly the understanding of society was developed. As Britishers came, it was more standardized, and then we had various societies like Asiatic Society of Bengal by Sir William Jones. Alright, then we had the William Jones, and then we had Society for Acquisition of General Knowledge in 1838. We had Herbert Risley pioneering the ethnographic studies in India, and he worked as a civil servant in Bengal. He has had a book also. He had written a book, Caste and Tribes of Bengal. In Madras, we had the Bethune School, and a paper titled Sociology was for India was presented in the Odd Scientific Society, and thinkers like Gandhi, Vivekanand, Tagore also had their own understanding of society. So Indian society is generally viewed Indian society, as I say, is generally viewed as a society that still holds its traditions dear, like close to its heart. Alright, it has many peculiar features like caste, kinship, and villages which are unparalleled elsewhere. Alright, so Indian society holds its traditions dear, very important to us, and there are features also, features like caste. Alright, caste very unique to India, kinship very unique to India, villages very unique to India, agrarian reforms came, green revolution came, something else happened, that the productivity of villages increased, LPG reforms came, jobs increased, people migrated, the village structure changed, it got reformed, recent farmers movements, people were alerted, farmers are protesting, very big thing is happening. Why? Because villages are very unique to India. When the Constitutional Assembly members went to Mahatma Gandhi, they asked Mahatma Gandhi that what should we actually take from you in order to implement in the Constituent Assembly so that the Constitution of India reflects your values, and he said only one thing. What one thing? He said Gramodaya. He said the Gandhi's talisman, looking for the last person. Alright, so Gramodaya. The heart of India lies in its villages. The heart of India dwells in its villages. So its unique social structure has attracted many interests from India and outside, and as a result had been studied from different perspectives. So ये कह रहा है कि इंडियन सोसाइटी इज व्यूड एज अ सोसाइटी दैट स्टिल होल्ड्स इट्स ट्रेडिशंस वेरी डियर. इंडिया की सोसाइटी के बहुत सारे पीक्यूलर फीचर्स हैं जो कि इंडिया के ही हैं, मतलब कास्ट, किनशिप, विलेजेस, और उनका जो यूनिक सोशल स्ट्रक्चर है, इट हैज़ अट्रैक्टेड मेनी इंटरेस्ट फ्रॉम इंडिया एंड आउटसाइड. एज अ रिजल्ट it has been studied from different perspectives. Some of the major perspectives are Indological perspective. Now there are various perspectives because Indian society is unique. Indian society holds its traditions very dear. Then now we have the various perspectives like Indological perspective, like the Marxist perspective, structural functionalist perspective. Alright, so apart from voluntary organizations and government machinery, administration also laid stress on study of Indian life. Okay, so administration's role is very important. Alright, role of administration. Okay, role of administration for the study of Indian society. Role of administration. Alright. Colonial rulers started to work to gain an understanding of society in order to rule the country better, law and order, revenue collection, etc. Alright, so colonial rulers started to work, understand society, rule the country better. Alright, so they wanted to understand society, they conducted surveys. So that is how administration laid stress on study of Indian life. So organizations were studying Indian life. Organization with Hune School or Scientific Society, and the Asiatic Society of Bengal. Government machinery also, Asiatic Society of Bengal, example of government machinery. Then the administration, which is a part of government, also laid the stress on the study of Indian life. So during the early period till around 1850s, alright, during the early period till around 1850s, understanding of Indian society was generally primarily by British administrators and not scholars. Alright, during 1820 to 1850, many books were written and many works were produced. However, they developed an orthodox view of Indian society and characterized it as a self-sufficient and closed village economy, as having a caste-based social structure and primitive tribal communities. Also, universities were established. Universities were established in Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras. Alright, 1857. Alright, so the Department of Census was established in 1871 and ethnic survey was made in 1901. This helped the scientific study of social sciences and of Indian society. So the Department of Census was established in 1871 and ethnic survey was in 1901. This helped in scientific study of Indian society. This was happening, everything clear? Okay, so after 1850s, India came under direct administration of the British Crown. ठीक है, we know that after the first war of independence, the proclamation of the Queen. All right, who was the Queen? Do you remember? What was the name of the Queen who proclaimed Indians as their citizens for the first time, as her citizens, like for the first time? It was Queen Victoria. All right, Queen Victoria. And when was the proclamation made? You should know this also. It was actually made on 1st November 1858. Okay, remember this. Then at that, see, after 1850s, India came under direct administration of the British Crown, and by that time, British rule was extended to the whole territory. Puri territory British rule. Now, understanding of Indian society was extended by the writings of Christian missionaries. The missionaries were there. Academic theologists were there. तो अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ इंडियन सोसाइटी पहले कौन पढ़ रहा था इंडियन सोसाइटी को? पहले पढ़ रही थी सोसाइटीज़, मतलब ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, ठीक है. फिर पढ़ रही थी गवर्नमेंट, फिर पढ़ रहे थे एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर्स, फिर कौन पढ़ने लगा? फिर पढ़ने लगे अपने क्रिश्चियन मिशनरीज. Academic theologists, ethnographers and industry experts. All right, so there were ethnographers plus industry experts. तो इन सब ने पढ़ा, ठीक है, पढ़ा. फिर the process was supplemented by the establishment of Western education and tremendous expansion of administrative framework in India. Western education establish हुई और बहुत भारी हद तक administrative framework क्या हुआ? expand हुआ. तो भाई establishment of Western education happened. All right, what were the various laws? What were the various laws which were introduced by Britishers to establish Western education into India? Do you remember? Yes, there were various laws, various legislative acts, various minutes they introduced, administrative minutes. Now you can remember. There was Wood's Dispatch. Wood's Dispatch came in 1854. 1854 Wood's Dispatch will come. Hunter Commission came in 1882. After that, and Wood's Dispatch was called Magna Carta of Indian Education. Hunter Commission 1882 appointed to evaluate the implementation of Wood's Dispatch itself. Alright, and before that also we had certain acts, and like the Charter Act also. So that was their Charter Act 1813, I think, if I'm not wrong, hai na? 1813 was there, yes. And yes, so basically the company was allocated an annual sum to promote the knowledge of Western societies and revive literature into India. So that was there. Alright, so, and during this period, a few educated Indians also had helped in enriching the understanding of Indian society. Many elements like Jajmani system, very important, joint family and customary laws and Panchayati Raj were studied along with the previous elements. So the macro level also, historical works were used to generate theoretical understanding of the society without supplementing it with field studies. Early pioneers of the discipline were these: Patrick Geddes, Ghuriye in Bombay, Radha Kamal, Mukherjee, D.P. Mukherjee in Lucknow, A.R. Wadyar in Mysore, so on. Okay. See here. Now it was early pioneers of the discipline were Patrick Geddes, okay, Ghuriye, okay, Bombay, okay, Radha Kamal Mukherjee, okay, R.K. Mukherjee, D.P. Mukherjee, Lucknow, okay, A.R. Vadia, Mysore, okay. So they were the earlier pioneers. Now major areas of focus were Indian philosophy, Oriental logy and Indology, ethnic and social survey, and history. Okay, Ghuriye was influenced by all four currents. Okay, Ghuriye was influenced by all of them. So he made the study of Indian caste system, then of tribes, then of cultures, then of cities, then of religions, then of trade. Alright, so Indology. Then Radha Kamal Mukherjee represented the spirit of synthesis of Indian intellectual life and Western analysis. Alright, so Radha Kamal Mukherjee synthesis करेंगे. किसका synthesis करेंगे? इंडियन इंटेलेक्चुअल लाइफ का, इंडियन इंटेलेक्चुअल लाइफ का, और वेस्टर्न और वेस्टर्न और वेस्टर्न और वेस्टर्न क्या एनालिसिस का. ठीक है, मतलब वेस्टर्न इंटेलेक्चुअल लाइफ का, इंडियन इंटेलेक्चुअल लाइफ का. आजकल भी सिंथेसिस होता है सोसाइटी में. क्या बोलते हैं आजकल अपन इस सिंथेसिस को? वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. व्हाट डू वी कॉल इट? कल्चरल hybridization. You will remember this, cultural hybridization. We call it cultural hybridization. Very good. So sociology was established as an academic discipline by Sir Patrick Geddes in 1919. Okay, very fair. मॉडले मिंटो रिफॉर्म्स का टाइम है. नहीं सॉरी, मॉन्टेग्यू शेम्सफोर्ड रिफॉर्म्स का टाइम है. ओके, सो सोशियोलॉजी वाज एस्टैब्लिश्ड एज एन academic discipline by Sir Patrick Geddes, where in Bombay University. So can you write this? Sociology was established as an academic discipline by Sir Patrick Geddes in Bombay University. If you are noting down in your notes, then you write Sir Patrick Geddes and Bombay University. Very good. In the same year when Weber established the first department of sociology in Germany. So Weber आया, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ सोशियोलॉजी स्टैब्लिश करा उसने जर्मनी में. ऑलराइट, और कौन सा मेथड दिया? वर्स्टेहन मेथड. वेरी गुड. योगेंद्र सिंह पर्सपेक्टिव्स ऑन स्टडिंग इंडियन सोसाइटी. योगेंद्र सिंह मॉडर्नाइजेशन की बात करेंगे. देखें ये क्या कहते हैं, छोटा सा है. लेट अस सी. योगेंद्र सिंह क्लासिफाइड द थियोरेटिकल एंड सिस्टमैटिक पर्सपेक्टिव्स इन इंडियन सोसाइटी इन द फॉलोइंग एस्पेक्ट्स. फिलोसफिकल पर्सपेक्टिव्स. Sociologists of Lucknow school were particularly influenced by the philosophical perspectives. Cultural perspective. Alright, Lucknow school, you remember who was there in Lucknow school? D.P. Mukherjee and Radha Kamal Mukherjee was there. Alright, cultural perspectives, works of Srinivas, Milton Singer, Redfield, Meckham Marriott, etc. Alright, Meckham Marriott, you will remember Meckham Marriott, etc. Alright, these are the works. Then structural perspective. F.G. Bailey, very important. F.G. Bailey. F.G. Bailey made important contribution towards explaining the structural perspective in Indian context. M.N. Srinivas had also used this perspective. Okay, dialectical historical perspective. Ramakrishna Mukherjee used this perspective in the study of Bengal and development of colonialism, and D.P. Mukherjee used this perspective. A.R. Desai used it for nationalism, social change, and modernization. So structural perspective, dialectical historical perspective, cultural perspective, philosophical perspective. So theoretical and systematic perspectives classified by Yogendra Singh. Alright. This is not Radha Kamal Mukherjee, this is Ramakrishna Mukherjee. Okay. So then we will study, we have studied Radha Kamal Mukherjee, but in the dialectical historical perspective, Yogendra Singh mentions Ramakrishna Mukherjee. Okay, so Weber has established the Department of Sociology in Germany. He is talking about Verstehen. Later, a separate department was also established in Lucknow University and Mysore University. It was at this time that the understanding of Indian society came in the domain of sociologists. Okay, so it was at this time that understanding of Indian society was happening by the sociologists. Very good thing which is happening, very positive and very uplifting for the field of Indian society in India. Indian sociology in India, very uplifting for the field of Indian sociological studies into India. So many perspectives slowly emerged. Alright, Patrick Geddes, Bombay University, Lucknow University, Mysore University, सब में department बन गया. Mysore इधर, Lucknow इधर, Bombay इधर. Alright, so देखो many perspectives slowly emerged. Before independence, primarily a book view was taken by the scholars. This approach of studying Indian society using historical texts came to be known as Indology. So, what is Indology? a book view which was taken by scholars. Alright, a book view which was taken by scholars that of studying Indian society in using historical texts, that is Indology, the study of Indian history, literature, and philosophy and culture. So G.S. Ghurye was the father of Indology. In 1940s, the discipline got recognition in other universities as well. Alright, so Indology discipline got recognition with time. So you can write G.S. Ghurye, Indology. Now we move forward. Early sociological thought in India was also influenced by the ideology of Indian freedom struggle. Alright, so Indian freedom struggle history formed a part of early sociological study. Okay, and by the uniqueness of Indian culture and thought, it is also reflected in the choice of study by G.S. Ghurye and D.P. Mukherjee. Okay, choice of subjects of study by G.S. Ghurye and D.P. Mukherjee. So when D.P. Mukherjee was studying Indian sociology, to which school of thought did he belong? Precisely, D.P. Mukherjee was associated with the Marxist school of thought, just like A.R. Desai. Alright, so he is studying, of course, Indology, but he will belong to the Marxist school of thought, you have to remember. Alright, 1 second, I'll write it down here for you. Red color se likhte hain. D.P. Mukherjee, Marxist school of thought. So the interdisciplinary and cultural approach was taken by the Lucknow school. Interdisciplinary cultural Lucknow school, okay. At the institutional level, Indian Sociological Society was formed. Institutional level, Indian Sociological Society की स्थापना हुई 1951 में as a platform for exchange of thoughts and to promote the cause of discipline in India. Alright, so Indian Sociological Society 1951 for exchange of thoughts and the promotion of discipline. What kind of discipline? Anusasan? No, sociology discipline. Okay, into India. I'm sorry for the lame joke. So the society was founded by none other than G.S. Ghurye. Ghurye also started a journal, Sociological Bulletin. So we know so much about Ghurye. Ghurye ने ही लिखा था Sociological Bulletin, और ये गेट सोशियोलॉजी के एग्जाम में डायरेक्टली पूछ भी लिया था. Alright, Sociological Bulletin लिखा था G.S. Ghurye ने. Very nice. Alright, so after India's independence, sociology was developed more scientifically and was influenced by structural functionalism in 1950s. Alright, so structural functionalist thinker aa rahe hain. They are entering. First thinker M.N. Srinivas. Alright, famous study course of Mysore held the field view. Emphasis was laid on factual and empirical surveying and field studies in place of theological and traditional issues. ये तो theology की बात करते थे, देखो क्या बात कर रहे हैं. Indian society, historical text, Indology, Indian history, literature, philosophy, culture, G.S. Ghurye, father, Indology. Alright, what is this? Indology. This is history. This is culture. This is something which is theoretical. This is something which is traditional. But now we have another gentleman entering who paved way for structural functionalism into sociology. Alright, so the structural functionalist, okay, M.N. Srinivas. Thankfully the short forms are used. Here you go. Alright, ये तो छुप गया. एक second. We will be doing the structural functionalism and we will be doing then the Marxism. Okay, let it be. So there was narrow focus and had short term light. Alright, because theoretical thing had narrow focus and was short term. And okay, so the survey method was introduced by Ford Foundation in 1950. During the 1970s, A.R. Desai repopulated the Marxist school. Alright, so we have now the Marxism. 1970s, A.R. Desai, Marxism. So the Indian sociologist also explored the question of objectivity and value neutrality. Earlier sociologists viewed value neutrality as a barrier. Alright, 1 second. So the Indian sociologists also explored the question of objectivity and value neutrality. So the earlier sociologists, as you can see, viewed value neutrality as a barrier to study the pressing issues faced by Indian society. क्यों value neutrality एक barrier था? क्योंकि न्यूट्रल हो गए तो इश्यूज को कैसे स्टडी करोगे. श्रीनिवास क्रिटिसाइज द disenchanted view taken by Western sociologists just to maintain dry professional commitment. Alright. Similarly, Radha Krishna Mukherjee, not Radha Kamal Mukherjee, advocated for value accommodating approach. Alright, which calls for adoption of the method depending upon the contextual relevance and IP. One second. And IP Desai. Alright, also asserted the inseparability of knowledge from practice. Knowledge is inseparable from practice, like it goes hand in hand with practice. So the Indian sociological scene also witnessed major changes in line with the global developments. Global development हो रहा है, Indian sociological scene भी develop हो रहा है. After the disintegration of USSR, Marxological influence declined in India also, but the interest remained alive due to the presence of left-wing extremism. Alright, so Marxism was there. Elements of Marxism was there. They were manifested into Naxalism. Alright, there's also an ongoing and persistent attempt to establish authentic identity of the discipline. So the Professor P.N. Mukherjee in his article State of Sociology called for the need to decolonize Indian sociology by moving away from the influence of British anthropological tradition. Alright, so this was the so we had to move away from British anthropological tradition and American interventions and Marxist hangover. So Indian society in 21st century needs to look forward. Indigenous perspective develop करो to understand society in your own terms. ये करना है अपन को in our own terms, in our very own terms. Their भी नहीं, your भी नहीं, our very own terms. Alright. So Indology. Indology literally means let us study Indology in detail now. Indology was which color? Blue color. Alright, Indology literally means systematic study of Indian society and culture. So the task of Indological perspective is to interpret and understand Indian society on the basis of traditional religious texts, ancient legal and historical documents, literary works and even archaeological evidences. Alright, so ऐसे पढ़ेंगे अपन. Indology literally means the systematic study of Indian society and culture. And the task of Indological perspective is to interpret and understand Indian society on the basis of traditional religious texts, ancient legal and historical documents, literary works and even archaeological evidences. In this way, this approach is different from the Western approaches. ऐसे ही approach एकदम different है from the Western approaches which are deemed unsuitable to in the Indian context. क्योंकि वो जो अप्रोचेज हैं वो अपने कल्चर को तो साइडलाइन कर देती है ना, तभी वो अनसूटेबल है. आप खुद बताओ, आपको कास्ट सिस्टम पढ़ना है तो क्या आप मनुस्मृति नहीं पढ़ोगे? आपको अगर रिलीजन पढ़ना है तो क्या आप स्मृति ट्रेडिशन और श्रुति ट्रेडिशन को एनालाइज नहीं करोगे? So Indological approach. Alright, systematic study of Indian society and culture. In this way, this approach is different from Western approaches which are unsuitable in Indian context. Religious texts like Mahabharata, Ramayana, Vedas, Upanishads, Smritis, or historical texts like Kautilya's Arthashastra and travelogues of like Megasthenes, we saw Indica, Fayan, writings and descriptions by kings and other archaeological evidences are used in the study of Indian society. आप देखोगे जो रामायण बनी हुई है या महाभारत बनी हुई है जो कि दूरदर्शन पे आती है, that also uses a lot of Sanskrit terms. Like it talks about Vanar. Alright, Vanar ऐसे होगा या फिर ऐसे होगा. It talks but now we refer to it as Bandar. Yes, Bandar. Alright, so it talks about Vanar in Hindi. Oh no, sorry, in Sanskrit. So various other terms are there. Patra is there rather than Patra. है ना, Vanar ऐसे होगा शायद, है ना, ये सही है. So this is there. So Indology emphasizes upon the study of Indian languages, ideas, beliefs, customs within the broad purview of Indian society. Alright, so these are analyzed within the broad purview of Indian society. Culture is a central premise on which the understanding of Indian society is built. Salient features of Indological approach are: number one, what is the salient feature? Number one salient feature of Indological approach is that Indian society is unique and it can be understood by the theories and concepts unique to Indian society, not by prevailing Western theories and concepts. तो अपनी सोसाइटी क्या यूनिक है, तो अपने अप्रोचेस अपन को ही समझना है ना इंडियन सोसाइटी को, तो अपने टेक्स्ट को तो एनालाइज करेंगे. वेस्टर्न टेक्स्ट को जाके पढ़ने से क्या होगा जब अपन को अपने ही टेक्स्ट के बारे में नहीं पता. इंडोलॉजिस्ट एम्फसाइज मोर ऑन अंडरस्टैंडिंग रादर देन सजेस्टिंग सोल्यूशंस टू द प्रॉब्लम्स. अब हमें अंडरस्टैंडिंग पे फोकस करना है, सोल्यूशन ओरिएंटेड अप्रोच भी लेके आएंगे आगे, पर पहले अंडरस्टैंडिंग. सो दिस इज अंडरस्टैंडिंग ओरिएंटेड अप्रोच. ऑलराइट, वर्स टेहन, अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द सोसाइटी इज डेवलप्ड इन द टर्म्स ऑफ कंटिन्यूटी. तो लिख सकते हो यहाँ पे, मतलब वर्स टेहन लिख दो, ठीक है. इंडोलॉजी वर्स टेहन को कनेक्ट करा आज अपन ने, कितना बड़ा काम किया. अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द सोसाइटी इज डेवलप्ड इन द टर्म्स ऑफ कंटिन्यूटी फ्रॉम द पास्ट एंड थ्रू आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑफ हिस्टोरिकल moorings. Alright, so the perspective seldom uses field view for taking into account the existence of heterogeneity and various variations present in the Indian society. Resulting view has been very broad, ideal, और ये क्या लिखा है, typical in nature. Alright, very broad, ideal and typical in nature variations. Okay, the resulting view has been very broad, ideal and typical in nature. So let us see ahead. Indological perspective change with time as the nature of the study changed. It is broadly categorized in two streams now. Classical Indology, it was prevalent before 1920s in the writings of British intellectuals. It refers to a pure book view perspective as inferences from the ancient texts were taken on their face value. Initial emphasis of this perspective was translations of the Sanskrit text on developing an understanding on that basis. So basically now we understand the two streams. First is classical, जो कि पहले prevalent था, मतलब एकदम pure book perspective, एंशियंट टेक्स्ट से अपन इन्फ्लुएंसेस लेंगे, डेवलपिंग एन अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑन दैट बेसिस. जैसे विलियम जोन्स ने जब एशियाटिक सोसाइटी ऑफ बंगाल स्टैब्लिश की इन 1787, इट इमर्ज्ड एज अ मेजर स्कूल फॉर द स्टडी, लेटर इमर्ज्ड एज अ मेजर स्टडी ऑफ एंडोलॉजी. एंड देन मैक्स म्यूलर सेक्रेड बुक्स ऑफ द ईस्ट 50 वॉल्यूम्स. ओके, 1879 की बात है. ट्रांसलेटेड वेदास एंड अदर सेक्रेड टेक्स्ट. एंड हेनरी मेन्स ancient law in 1861 and village communities in the east and west 1871 were classic Indological texts. Initial Indologists were either Western scholars or colonial British officers. Alright, so they were either the Western scholars or colonial British officers. Later many Indian Indological schools were also established, including the Theosophical Society in 1886, Oriental Research Institute in Mysore 1891 and Bhandarkar Institute of Pune in 1917. Alright, so these were there. 1891 में कौन था, माइजोर का ओरिएंटल रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट. थियोसोफिकल सोसाइटी हमने देखा था ऊपर, 1886 का था. बंदारकर स्कूल इन पुणे 1917. Alright, and Western scholars in general had a critical view of Indian society. Indian scholars, however, highlighted the greatness and the uniqueness of the Indian society. Western view considered India as a land of villages, which was further considered as self-sufficient, isolated, static and orthodox. But religion was considered central to the understanding of other social institutions. आप tribals में भी देखोगे तो भी animalistic religion दिखता है. So that is also central. Now their own social institutions are there, matrilineal is there, some different social institutions are there. So social relationships were guided by traditionalism and caste system. Caste system was considered as a closed symbol of feudal and backward character of Indian society. Caste system क्या है, closed है. क्या है, closed है. Closed symbol, closed and a symbol of feudal and backward character of Indian society. Alright, gradually joint families, panchayats and jajmani system were considered other elements of social life, and some research was done on these elements as well. So these were the elements. So this is classical Indology in detail. Alright, what was classical Indology? सबसे पहले तो अपन को ये देखना, there were various authors like Max Muller was there, Sacred Books of the East 1879. Then there was William Jones, Asiatic Society of Bengal 1787. and then we had the village and communities in the east and the west, 1871, sorry, and Theosophical Society, Bhandarkar's Code, Oriental Research Institute, Mysore. All these things were happening. So all these developments were pointing towards India as a isolated, static, orthodox community as per the Britishers. But then the social relationships were guided by traditionalism and the caste system. So caste system के बारे में बताया, जजमानी सिस्टम के बारे में बताया कि क्लोज था तो मतलब ऑर्थोडॉक्स भी था. आगे जाके अपन पढ़ेंगे कैसे ऑर्थोडॉक्स था जजमानी सिस्टम. एक जजमान हुआ करता था, दूसरा कमीन हुआ करते थे, वो जनरेशंस तक सर्व करते थे जजमान को. सो इट वाज वेरी ऑर्थोडॉक्स. So this is classical Indology. Now we have modern Indology. Alright, with the establishment of sociology as a discipline, अब हो गया ना established. So the task of understanding society came within its purview. Alright, now understanding society is within the purview of the establishment of a sociological discipline. So classical Indology was modified by combining it with the various sociological perspectives, लीडिंग टू द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ मॉडर्न इंडोलॉजी. तो कुछ सोशियोलॉजिकल पर्सपेक्टिव्स जिनकी अपन बात करेंगे उनको कंबाइन किया तो मॉडर्न इंडोलॉजी बनी. पर ये ऐसा नहीं है कि रेसिपी बनी, रेसिपी नहीं है. इट इज़ समथिंग अ फील्ड विच इज़ डेवलप्ड ओवर टाइम. सो इट हैज़ accumulated various aspects from various subject materials. So it is sometimes also referred to as social Indology. Why? Because modern Indology was used by academicians in contrast to scholars and officials, as in the case of classical Indology. Alright. Guri is considered as the father of modern Indology, as he was instrumental in the establishment of the first department of sociology into India. He synthesized classical Indological approach with anthropological diffusional approach. Similarly, there was Radha Kamal Mukherjee who combined classical approach with empirical sociology. So Indology plus anthropology किसने combine किया? Guri ने combine किया Indology plus anthropology. एंड राधा कमल मुखर्जी ने क्लासिकल अप्रोच और एम्पेरिकल सोशियोलॉजी को कंबाइन किया. डीपी मुखर्जी डेवलप्ड मार्क्सोलॉजिकल अप्रोच बाय कंबाइनिंग क्लासिकल विद मार्क्सियन. इनने क्लासिकल और मार्क्सियन को कंबाइन किया, इनने क्लासिकल और एम्पेरिकल को कंबाइन किया, इनने क्लासिकल और इंडोलॉजिकल और एंथ्रोपोलॉजिकल को कंबाइन किया. ठीक है. आफ्टर इंडिपेंडेंस द यूज ऑफ इंडोलॉजी कंटिन्यूड बट अदर पर्सपेक्टिव्स रिमेन प्रीडोमिनेंट. Alright, so the modern Indological perspective criticized the orthodox picture of Indian society. Villages were now not seen as isolated or static or self-sufficient. Religion was considered as a central institution, but nowhere as a hindrance to dynamism of Indian society. The present changes on account of colonial rule were also studied, and the relevance of joint family and panchayat was emphasized in the Indological view. So joint family, panchayats became more and more relevant. Alright. So in spite of being the earliest perspective, Indology started to lose the sheen post-independence on the account of various reasons. Firstly, क्या हुआ कि subsequent field studies में normative order था. People in practice, alright, followed by people in practice is highly different from ideal type. So M.N. Srinivas concepts of dominant caste, इसको भी criticize किया गया बहुत. फिर कंसेप्ट को, और फिर संस्कृताइजेशन चेंज द ट्रेडिशनल नोशंस ऑफ कास्ट जनरेटेड बाय इंडोलॉजिकल व्यूज. सो बेसिकली नॉर्मेटिव ऑर्डर फॉलोड बाय द पीपल लाइमलाइट में आया. और एक और रीज़न था कि कॉन्ट्रडिक्टरी इन्फॉर्मेशन इन इंडोलॉजिकल सोर्सेज इंट्रोड्यूस सब्जेक्टिविटी इन द एनालिसिस. So understanding differed on the basis of references to different texts. This reduced the reliability of the analysis. Alright, so there was contradictory information. Indologists relied on the book view, authenticity of which is very questionable. These texts generally depicted ideal version of Indian society, idealized version, and often were based on various factors. For example, texts like Prithviraj Raso and other contemporary Rasos were eulogies. Do you know what are eulogies? Okay, the various documents which try to praise, alright, the kings by the royal bards. Sometimes they lacked veracity and truth, and they were colored by imperial preferences. Alright, you know Harshcharita also. Finally, Indologists have always been accused of promising objectivity in social research. Or it depends, like various document to document, but yes, the Indological explanations have been colored with vested interests. Okay, Western scholars were biased for their colonial interests, and Indian scholars were biased for their nationalistic interests. Now there is bias on both the sides. Thus, no objective view could be generated. This was the problem. No objective view could be generated. Okay, so though Indology may be losing its perspective, Indological studies continue to be relevant till date. Recently, there has been an effort to revisit the traditional text for seeking reinterpretations. Some form of postmodern Indology seems to be re-emerging with the revival of interest among scholars about the culture of ancient India. Some interesting perspectives have been offered recently, like likes of Devdutt Patnaik, who have shed altogether different lights on Indian mythology. So you can understand Devdutt Patnaik with Indology. Romila Thapar has combined Indology with history. This also you can understand Romila Thapar. Alright, so there is also one Marxist female historian. Is she Romila Thapar? I think yes, because she had some Marxist influence in one of her works, if I'm not wrong. There are other also with respect to history. We will find many people, and then of course there are alternative views on Indian Hindu traditional socialist organization, as you can say, and yes, this is there, and various frameworks will be incorporated. So we have done till Indology of GS Gurye. This we will start tomorrow. Alright, this we will do tomorrow, and let us recall what we have done. Difference between classical and modern Indology. Indology in detail. What is Indology? What is Yogendra Singh's perspective? What are the various thinkers? How did the evolution of the school of sociology happen into India? How sociology evolved in India, and the various, you can say, introduction regarding the perspectives on Indian society. Alright, so we will be doing this tomorrow. Indology of GS Ghurye. Then structural functionalist tradition, we have M.N. Srinivas here. Alright, this is the introduction of structural functionalist tradition, and then we will have M.N. Srinivas, yes. Sanskritization, various terms. Westernization. Then we'll have Marxist sociology of A.R. Desai. And then there's this table given which we will be covering. Then we have some questions. Okay, I will discuss all the questions in later lectures, but this we will complete tomorrow. Perspectives on Indian society. Thank you so much for watching the lecture, and hope to see you in the next lecture as well. Keep studying, keep learning. Thank you.